can't talk about anything without mentioning Zenescope. So Grimm Fairy Tales, very standard kind of comic book in terms of we take the old original Grimm's Fairy Tales and we kind of give it the modern spin. But just kind of as a disclaimer, I have a long history with Zenescope. So we have special covers with Zenescope. We actually have our own Comics Forge covers with this company. We've invested a lot of money with them, and they've invested a lot of time with us. So it's been a fairly good trade-off and working with Zenescope. So kind of take that with a grain of salt when I tell you that Grimm Fairy Tales is completely, totally awesome, because there is, in the honest of fairness, there is kind of a back history with Zenescope and Comics Forge, right? And again, with those special covers, we actually have two of them. I don't know, they usually sell them in series of 500, so we have a lot of Comics Forge Special Edition, Grimm Fairy Tales to go along with it. But again, it's kind of nice going back to the original ones where you kind of go through and you kind of take a look at where they did, right? So you got Snow White, Jack and the Beanstalk, Goldilocks, and the Frog King. So all these are fairly standard kinds of things. I really like the trade paperbacks more than I like the original comics, just because I like having the whole storyline when it comes to these older fairy tales. Right there, all in one spot. I don't necessarily want to wait. I'm kind of impatient when it comes to certain storylines, right? When you know that it's something like My Little Pony, or when you know it's something like Adventure Time, you know that they're meant to be a weekly series and no big deal. They kind of wrap things up in 7 to 12 pages. But Grimm's Fairy Tales, the whole 9 yards, you really want to get the whole thing as you kind of go through it. And it's kind of neat. It's interesting, though. They kind of did a little thing that makes it look like it was badly scanned when they get into this, but they actually talk about how all these stories started out and where they came from and what the background of them were. So it's just kind of neat when you kind of see these and that you get these beautiful introductions from people that are well known and well liked and well respected in the industry. And then you get into the cover art. It depends on who did the cover and all the rest of it. I'm a big fan of just about all the writers there at Grimm Fairy Tales, and the art is always beautiful. It's very rarely not beautiful. And some of the more limited edition covers, especially the ones if you go to like Philly Comic Con or you go to Emerald City Comic Con or all the rest of it, Zenescope's always participating heavily in these. So you can usually pick up that limited edition 250 cover comic book from them when you go to a con, or you can pick it up online for a very large markup. So watch and see what Grimm Fairy Tales is doing, and especially Zenescope. So when you're buying these, check out the trade paperbacks. Zenescope has done a great job of trying to keep the trade paperbacks at about $10 to $14 a piece, just to kind of keep it within the realm of people buying the comic books. So they've done a lot to cost contain, and that's a good thing from the consumer's viewpoint. I'm not too sure how it's impacting the artists or the authors or the writers. So kind of go back through there and unwrap that one a little bit and kind of take a look at it. Right? So you do end up with good art, you end up with good lettering, it's easy to read, the coloring is always good as everything else, and the storylines again just follow the standard storylines that we all have. King Midas is one that I really actually like, and then Snow White is another big one that I actually really like along the way. So definitely, go through these comic books. They're totally worth it. Zenescope has been an independent operation for quite a while now, and it's kind of nice to see them reissuing their stuff on Comixology to try to come up with a new era, a new group of people to kind of talk to and try to get involved with when it comes to their comic books and the other things that go along with it. So definitely, sit back and just kind of enjoy these. Definitely check out the trade paperbacks. Again, they're going for between $10 and $14 a piece, so they're within the budgetary realm. They're not the crazy $40 million kind of comic books. They're just trying to do what they can to sell comic books, and it's a beautiful thing to kind of see. And again, you get good lettering, good coloring, good art. You get real good storylines with the Grimm Fairy Tales. And it is just kind of neat to kind of see how they've expanded these lines out and kind of made these into really nice comic books and things that you can get into and read. These are for your more mature teens, so maybe 15, 16 on up, and good for adults as well if you just enjoy these things. So just a nice comic book to go back and read and all the rest of it. So this is definitely a 5-star comic book. The company's a 5-star company. They're always coming out with new and innovative ways of turning things around so they can keep the comic book market kind of working afloat a little bit, because, again, comic books kind of sometimes have issues with new adaptations or new adaptations of older storylines. So definitely give them a shout. And again, this is a 5-star comic book. These are ones you really love, but again, realize that I have a business arrangement with Zenescope. So you may want to take that with a grain of salt. And again, in honesty and fairness, I'd rather have you all know that I have a business dealing with Zenescope. So you just need to kind of take that with that grain of salt and kind of go, okay, why is he really doing this? I'm really doing this because I love Zenescope, and I wouldn't be getting the special coverage from Zenescope if I didn't believe that it was totally awesome to begin with. So this is on YouTube. Definitely go check out Zenescope. Go buy from their website, which is like totally awesome if you do that, because they sometimes are probably going to have a sale here every now and then to go through it, or buy on Amazon. Amazon does not seem to have a markup premium on this, which is good, nor does eBay. Read on Comixology or buy at your local comic book store to kind of keep your comic book store open, and then pay full retail for that. Otherwise, 5 of 5-star comic books. Most of Zenescope work is incredibly amazingly cool. Again, check out their special covers, especially if they went to a comic show or a comic convention. Again, you'll pay a premium, but they do seem to appreciate it fairly well, and that's also a good thing if you're into comic book collecting and all the rest of it. Again, Comics Forge on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe, like, do all the things that you would do. Comment, tell us how much you love us or hate us. I'm good with whichever way you want to go. But again, check out Zenescope. Check out their Grimm's Fairy Tales. It's overall really an enjoyable read.